Welcome to MTG friends, I'm Ryan, and in this Commander deck tech, we're going to be doing the ever so popular Golos Tireless Pilgrim. Now in this build, this iteration, we're going to be doing ELDRAZI heavy for the creature type, and in the land base, we're going to be running Tron as well as some Cloudpost action to really lever getting a lot of mana out real quick, real efficiently. So we're going to have two different builds in the description. This particular one we're doing in the episode, as well as a Golos Super Friends build, which we will also do a follow-up episode for you guys in the very near future. So let's talk about the build and then jump into how we're going to lever it with Golos's abilities. So like I said, we have ELDRAZI for the package in creatures. We got land, which is the most versatile, swappable part of it for budgetary reasons. We have control, and there's a lot of it here. Shenanigans, of course, draw, ramp, removal, and we have a nice little infinite mana combo piece in here as well. And then we are running a companion in this build, which is Gigantha, the Wellspring. And as with all of our deck techs, we do have a maybe board slash sideboard slash budgetary swaps considerations that you can check out at your leisure at the description below for the link. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about Golos and how we're going to lever his powers. So Golos Tireless Pilgrim is a 5 colorless drop, 3/5 body, legendary artifact creature. When Golos Tireless Pilgrim enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, which means any land, including our Tron pieces, Cloudposts, or whatever it is we need for mana fixing. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. And then its other ability, which we're going to lever very effectively and hardcore, is 2 colorless, every color of the color wheel. Exile the top 3 cards of your library. You may play them this turn without paying their mana costs. So this means, and keep this in the back of your head, that you are going to be casting these spells even though it doesn't cost you anything, which is a very important differentiation, especially with a lot of the ELDRAZI creatures that have the when you cast this creature aspect of it, as opposed to it just entering the battlefield without being cast. So we don't have any of those kind of shenanigans. So it's going to be very effective when running this with the Golos abilities and the mechanics. Okay, clear as mud, clear as mud. Before we jump into these packages, if you are new to the channel, please consider hitting subscribe. If you're new or returning, hit the like button, hit those alert buttons if you are interested in our other content. It helps us out immensely and lets us know we're putting up content that you like to see. And of course, put comments in the comment section, feedback or thoughts or attaboys. We like attaboys. Okay, so let's jump into ELDRAZI's first. And oh, I have a special place in my heart for ELDRAZI creature cards. They're just so powerful and so gigantic and do such crazy things. Let's start with Artisan of Kozilek. It's a 9-drop, 10/9, and yes, 9 is a lot, but we're going to really get that mana out really quickly, especially with Golos. When you cast a spell, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's got Annihilator 2. Annihilator 2, when this creature attacks, defending player sacrifices 2 permanents. So these ELDRAZIs are going to really change the board state if you can get them to stick. And notice, like I was saying just previously, when you cast this spell. So if somehow you tease this out otherwise, you wouldn't be able to return a creature card from a graveyard to the battlefield. So just something to keep in mind. So we have built this to really lever those kinds of abilities with the casting portion. Bane of Bala Ged, 7-drop, little less expensive for an ELDRAZI, 7/5 creature ELDRAZI. Whenever Bane of Bala Ged attacks, defender player exiles 2 permanents he or she controls. Oh boy, just keep removing things off of the board. Love it. Conduit of Ruin, a 6-drop, 5/5 ELDRAZI. When you cast Conduit of Ruin, you may search your library for a colorless creature card with converted mana cost 7 or greater. And we got a handful of those. Reveal it, then shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. The first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. So we're going to be able to tease those creatures out for 2 less. Yes, please. All right, this is a serious big dog, a game winner. This thing is amazing. Emrakul, the Promised End. It is legendary creature ELDRAZI, a 13/13 4/13 that becomes less expensive. Emrakul, the Promised End costs 1 less to cast for each card type among cards in your graveyard. When you cast Emrakul, you gain control of target opponent during that player's next turn. After that turn, that player takes an extra turn, flying trample protection from instance. So this thing can really win games, albeit you're going to be playing against 3 other people, but by the time you tease this thing out, you're going to be a serious contender to take it the whole way. Emrakul is a very amazing card. Now some of you might think, you know what, I'd rather swap that out. There are different cards you could certainly swap Emrakul out for. Alright, Endbringer. It is a 6 untap Endbringer during each other player's untap step. And tap, Endbringer deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Or for colorless, tap, target creature can't attack or block this turn. And you can, for 2, draw a card. So just fantastic ELDRAZI card with little draw mechanics. It That Betrays for 12, 11 ELDRAZI, Annihilator 2. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control. So a lot of these ELDRAZI creatures are, in essence, game winners all by themselves if you can get them to stick. Just need 1 or 2 of these things and it is off to the races. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth, 10/12/12 ELDRAZI. When you cast the spell, draw 4 cards, and it's got Annihilator 4. When Kozilek, Butcher of Truth is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owner shuffles that graveyard into their library. So, not going to be milling too easy if you get this thing out for an opponent. Kozilek, the Great Distortion, 8 colors, colorless. When you cast Kozilek, Great Distortion, if you have fewer than 7 cards in hand, draw cards equal to the difference. And it's got Menace. Discard a card with converted mana cost X. Counter target spell with converted mana cost X. Oh, this thing is fantastic and crazy. Oblivion Sower. It's a 6-drop ELDRAZI 5/8. When you cast Oblivion Sower, target opponent exiles the top 4 cards of his or her library. Then you may put any number of land cards that player owns from exile onto the battlefield under your control. So all of these just do some super janky things. Pathraiser of Ulamog as well. Jank, jank, jank. For 11/9/9 ELDRAZI Annihilator 3. Pathraiser of Ulamog can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. Reality Smasher for 5. Trample Haste. Whenever Reality Smasher becomes the target of a spell an opponent controls, counter that spell unless its controller discards a card. So it's going to really cost an opponent to be able to get rid of Reality Smasher, which is very nice. Very nice indeed. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. This thing is a game winner. When you cast Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, exile 2 target permanents. Indestructible. Whenever Ulamog attacks, defending player exiles the top 20 cards of his or her library. So you get any of these to stick for a turn, and it is just insane. Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre, 11/10/10 ELDRAZI. When you cast this spell, destroy target permanent. Indestructible, Annihilator 4. When Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre, is put into a graveyard from anywhere, its owners shuffle their graveyard into their library. Void Winnower. It's a 9-drop 11/9 ELDRAZI. Your opponent can't cast spells with even converted mana cost. Your opponent can't block with creatures with even converted mana cost. So it just really starts messing with your opponents because now they have to think, oh, is my spell odd? Oh, great. Lovely. World Breaker for 7. Devoid. When you cast World Breaker, exile target artifact, enchantment, or land with reach. And then it's got for 3, sacrifice the land, return World Breaker from your graveyard to your hand. Yes, ELDRAZI's so special. So special, those ELDRAZI cards. Alright, now let's go into a little bit of removal. It is very important that we keep that board clear for our ELDRAZI and get things out of the way. Now this is a great one. Abrupt Decay. It is Golgari colors. This spell can't be countered. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. So we can be going after their artifacts and their enchantments with this, which is very, very effective. All is Dust. We are doing this specifically because we're in the ELDRAZI realm and the colorless mana realm. Each player sacrifices all colored permanents he or she controls. We'll have a lot of colorless on the battlefield, but just make sure that you aren't hurting yourself when you play this, because we do have some with color. Some, not a ton, but some. All right, Assassin's Trophy, very great utility removal in Golgari. Destroy target permanent opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle their library. So this gets rid of any permanent, including utility lands of your opponent. Cyclonic Rift, yes. You can certainly swap this card out if you don't like it. It seems to be a staple until it gets banned. I think there will be a day where this gets banned, but who knows. For 7, you can return target non-land permanents you don't control to its owner's hand, and that's all of their permanents. And then if you only cast it for 2, you can do it for 1 target permanent. Steel Hellkite. Almost said that completely wrong. Well, I kind of did. Moving on. For 6, it's a 5/5 artifact creature dragon with flying. And for 2, Steel Hellkite gets +1/+0 until end of turn. And there's likely we're going to have a lot of mana at our disposal if you can get this out attacking. And for X, destroy each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. So each turn you can decide you want to destroy something with X mana cost in it. Oh man, what great removal. Alright, more removal in the colorless ilk for 8. And this is, as of this recording, in standard and in a lot of the top mana decks that are utilizing Ugin as one of their game winner conditions. If you're not familiar with Ugin, +2 gives you 3 damage to any target, a -X exiles permanents, and that have colors, so any other artifacts it wouldn't get rid of, exile them. And for its ultimate, which if you get the ultimate off, bravo, you gain 7 life, draw 7 cards, then put up to 7 permanent cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Ugin is a very strong card. All right, let's talk about our infinite mana combo. Chromatic Orrery. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. Add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 colorless mana. And then for 5, you can draw a card for each color among permanents you control. So it's actually got some versatility as well. And then you combo this up with Filigree Sages, which for 3, you untap target artifact. And notice with Orrery, or is it Orrery? I think it's Orrery. Notice you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color. So that means you're going to be netting to infinite mana. Infinite mana. Yes, that's lovely. Infinite mana. I should make a song called Infinite Mana. All right, next up, because Architect tells us that this is what's next, is our land base. We're going to go through this fairly rapidly because this is the most versatile part of your build that you can swap out for budgetary reasons. You can certainly swap out some of these higher value in terms of money-wise cards for other dual lands that come in tapped, or basic lands for that matter. So let's start with one that's an oldie but goodie. That's Ancient Tomb. You tap it for 2 colorless and it deals 2 damage. All right, we got some shock lands going on in here. We have Bojuka Bog as a utility to get rid of an opponent's graveyard if so needed. All right, more shock lands. We have Cabal Coffers in here because we have the combo in here with Uborg. Add black to your mana pool for each swamp you control for 2. We have Cascading Cataracts. This is another way to get the colors of the color wheel out there because you can tap it for 5 and add 5 of any combo of colors to your mana pool. Caverns of Souls is because we're in essence running tribal ELDRAZI, so we can drop this onto the playfield, name ELDRAZI as the creature type, and then those can't be countered by blue spells. Yeah, buddy. Or whatever spells. I just in my brain, I always just think countering equals blue, which for the most part is true. All right, City of Brass. This is how we can tease out a color we need for 1 damage. All right, so like I said, we're running Tron and we're running Cloudpost in here to really lever getting lots and lots of mana. And we have a couple cards in here that actually duplicate cards that are Cloudpost, etc., etc. So, I made that a little long-winded, didn't I? All right, Cloudpost comes in play tapped, and you tap it, add 1 to your mana pool for each locus in play. Cool. Command Tower. Yes. Crystal Quarry, another way to tap for 5 and get 5 of the color wheel. Dark Depths is in here mainly because I think it's super janky, super fun, and an alt-win condition for sure. And we have plenty of mana in our mana base that we should be able to utilize. So Dark Depths comes into play with 10 ice counters on it, 10, which really isn't that many when you're running Tron and Cloudpost. And for 3, you remove an ice counter from Dark Depths. When Dark Depths has no ice counter on it, sacrifice it. If you do, put an indestructible legendary 2020 black avatar creature token with flying named Merit Lage into play. So really, the only way people are going to get this out is if they play like a Toxic Deluge on it, that's for 20, or, you know, exile it or something. Yes, love that card. All right, ELDRAZI Temple. This is, you tap it, and you can put 2 towards ELDRAZI spells or activate abilities of colorless ELDRAZI. So we're really going to be a lever of that. Exotic Orchard, color of your opponent's land base. Eye of Ugin, colorless ELDRAZI spells cost 2 less to cast. Love it, love it. And then for 7, you tap, search your library for a colorless creature card, which is going to be an ELDRAZI most likely. Reveal it and put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. All right, here's another locus. When Glimmer Post enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life for each locus on the battlefield. Not super important. The other part is add 1 to your mana pool. Love it. Glimmer Void. Add 1 mana of any color. And this is got the extra issue of at the beginning of the end step, if you control no artifacts, sacrifice Glimmer Void. You are most likely going to have artifacts out there unless there has been a hardcore board wipe by one of your opponents. We are running 1 island, arbitrarily really, but the reason I put in an island is because we are heavier in islands, heavier in blue, should I say, than the rest of the colors, very, very slightly. All right, Mana Confluence, pay 1 life, add any color we need for mana fixing. All right, we got some fetch lands in here. This one fetches for a forest or an island. Another shock land, another fetch land. All right, this is Spire of Industry. Pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Activate this ability only if you control an artifact, which we are very artifact heavy. Another shock land. Temple of the False God. Add 2 colorless. Activate this ability only if you control 5 or more lands. Yep. And then Thespian Stage. Now here's one of those that it becomes a copy. So you could copy it for a piece of Tron that's already out there, or a Cloudpost, depending on what gets you more land. Mana. So Thespian Stage becomes a copy of target land and gains this ability. Ah, yes. All right, the other piece of the Cabal Coffers, Uber Tomb of Yawgmoth. Each land is a swamp in addition to its other land types. All right, so like I keep saying throughout this whole thing, we are running Tron. And the reason we're running Tron, like I said, is because Golos can go fetch these for us. So it's going to be a lot easier to grab these pieces of Tron and get them out, tease them out for play. So we got each piece of Tron. Oh, yes. We got the mine, we got the power plant, and we got the tower. The Tower of Power. I'm sure I'm not the first person who's ever said that. All right, Verdant Catacombs, another fetch land. Actually, one of my favorite because I really like Golgari colors. Black, green, one of my favorites. Yes, indeed. More information than you really needed. And here's another one that you get to make into a copy. Vesuva. As Vesuva comes into play, you may choose a land in play. If you do, Vesuva comes into play tapped as a copy of the chosen land. So we have a land base that is really going to start making huge amounts of mana for us. And then we have Waste. We're just running 1 of those. And it is considered a basic land. All right. And then we got another shock land. And the Triome that is in the 3 colors that we are running in this particular build, minus of course the all the colors in Golos and our companion. I believe those are the only 2 that are running all of the colors. And to tease out the companion, which we'll get into a little more later, you don't need all of the colors of the color wheel. All right, Zagoth Triome also has the added benefit of being able to cycle it for 3 if you already have your mana base situated. Very great card for when you're running more than 2 colors. All right, now we are under control and we have a good amount of it. Now, because we're going to have so much mana at our disposal, I put this one in mainly because I think it's super janky and super fun and super powerful, actually. For 4 blue, 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 for each opponent, gain control of target permanent that player controls. So, assuming you're playing against 3 other people, you get to steal 3 permanents. And that can include a land, of course, or an artifact, or whatever. This one is easily swappable for another control piece or another ELDRAZI, or whatever you think you would like to put in there. Counterspell, yep, we're going to run Counterspell, yes. All right, Fierce Guardianship, we're going to run a lot of counters to keep our stuff safe as much as possible. Plus, we should have the mana to do it. And if we don't, well, we have these kinds of cards. If you control a commander, you may cast a spell without paying its mana cost, counter target non-creature spell. Flusterstorm for 1. Counter target instant or sorcery spells unless its controller pays 1. And it's got Storm. In case you're not familiar with Storm, which you probably are, when you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. Another easily swappable card for one that you might prefer in the countering ilk, because we definitely want to keep control of the board. Force of Negation for 3. If it's not your turn, you may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay this spell's mana cost and counter target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. And that's for a measly 3 with the added benefit of playing it for free under the right circumstances. And then another one that's great for playing for free. You may pay 1 life and remove a blue card in your hand from the game instead of paying Force of Will's casting cost. Effects that prevent or redirect damage cannot be used to counter this loss of life counter target spell. So I went counter heavy in this just because I really thought protection was important here. And this is a way to do it for sure. And we're going to have lots and lots of mana at our disposal. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next mana phase. Add an amount of colorless equal to that spell's converted mana cost. Mana drain is great. And of course, for budgetary reasons, you can certainly swap these out for cheaper counter spells. There's plenty out there. Plenty. Or you can run a few different removal spells as well. Maybe in Grogari. Although we have a handful of those already. Narset's Reversal for 2 blue, instant, copy target instance or sorcery spell, then return it to its owner's hand. You may choose new targets for the copy. Alright, this one is new out of Commander Legends, and it's just that powerful that it's gotta be in here. At least I personally believe it's gotta be in here. Opposition Agent is a 3-drop 3/2 human rogue with flash. And since we're playing Commander, folks, there's going to be people and opponents tutoring their decks. But oh wait, if they tutor and then you drop this onto the stack, you gain control of your opponent while they're searching their libraries. While an opponent is searching their library, they exile each card they find. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast them. So, let's talk about this for a moment. So, even if Opposition Agent dies after it resolves and you go fetch and exile their cards, you can play them for the rest of the game as long as they remain exiled. This is a Bajankajank card. This is so awesome. I'm including it in anything and everything I'm running black in. Absolutely. I've updated all my decks to have this card. Well, I shouldn't say all. A lot of them. Because, you know, sometimes certain cards don't make sense. Pact of Negation, if you just gotta counter something and you don't have the mana and you're tapped out, this'll get you through. Counter target spell at the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 5. If you don't, you lose the game. Well, you're most likely gonna have 5, so you won't lose the game. Or you may be losing the game if you can't counter whatever's going on. Great card, great card. Alright, still in the control. Swan Song for 1. Counter target enchantment, instant, or sorcery spell. Its controller creates a 2/2 blue bird creature token with flying. Alright, now we are in the ramp section. Hey, and you've made it this far, so put in the comments, hey, I made it. Or just, I don't know, keep watching. Please, keep watching. Or hit subscribe because you forgot. I don't know, whatever. Arcane Signet, yep, you're going to play that. Chromatic Lantern, because we are, in essence, playing the colors of the color wheel, even though we're focused on mainly 3 colors. Lands you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, or tap, add 1 mana to your mana pool. Okay. Crop Rotation. This is so we can go grab whatever we need. If we got to get that Tron and we still need a piece, search your library for a land card, put that card on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. And you do have to sacrifice to do that, but that's okay. We're okay with that. Dryad of the Elysian Grove. This allows you to play an additional land each of your turns. And then land you control are every basic land type in addition to their other land types. Expedition Map, another way to fetch out Tron or Cloudpost or whatever it is we need to get Golos going. Sacrifice Expedition Map, search your library for a land card, reveal it, and put it in your hand, then shuffle your library. Fellware Stone, add to your mana pool 1 mana of any color that a land an opponent controls could produce, and it only costs you 2. So great ramp, great ramp. Fist of the Sun. This is in here because it is a 3-drop, and we have a lot of ELDRAZIs that are super expensive. And let's say we don't have Golos out just yet, or we don't have Gigantha out there allowing us to get all the colors of the color wheel, and we want to play an ELDRAZI and we just don't have it. Well, you can pay all the colors of the color wheel rather than pay the mana cost for spells that you cast. So this is just another way that you can tease out those huge mana costing spells for very little amount of mana. So just fantastic. This one could certainly be swapped out if you're just not feeling this card. I felt it's just good enough to put in here. Maybe you don't. What would you swap this out with? Put it in the comments. Forsaken Monument, this is new out of Zendikar Rising. This is great for colorless stuff. It's a 5-drop. Colorless creatures you control get +2/+2. Whenever you tap a permanent for colorless, add an additional colorless mana. Whenever you cast a color spell, you gain 2 life. Just to add a little bonus right there. And then super new as of this recording under Commander Legends is Jeweled Lotus. Oh, this is just really powerful. It costs you nothing. Sack Jeweled Lotus, add 3 mana of any one color. Spend this mana only to cast your commander. We would love this to be able to tease out Golos even earlier than normal. Easily swappable for another mana rock or something else in the ramp ilk. If you don't have it, you don't have the budget for it. Mana Crypt. Costs you nothing for a Soul Ring in essence. Costs you 3 damage if you lose a flip each turn. Add 2 colorless to your mana pool. Metal Worker. This is a very interesting one and a very cool one, especially that we are so artifact heavy. Metal Worker, you tap, reveal any number of artifact cards in your hand, and you add 2 colorless mana to your mana pool for each card revealed this way. So let's say you have 4 in there. That's 2, 4, 6, 8. Wow, that goes a long way for being a 3-drop with tap. Of course, it doesn't have haste, so you're going to need to be able to keep this thing alive for 1 turn to be able to really utilize it. But it's an early drop, and it's very powerful. If you don't have this and you don't have the budget for it, you could certainly swap this out for, you know, another mana rock like Mind Stone or something. Certainly. Mox Opal. Yes, we're definitely including this because it's got Metalcraft. Add 1 mana of any color. Activate this ability only if you control 3 or more artifacts. We're going to be controlling that many unless there's some serious board clear going on by your opponents on the regular. Alright, Mox Opal. A very good include for artifact heavy stuff. Palladium Mare. This is a 3-drop. Add 2 colorless. Mirror. 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 Sorry, I had to do it. Soul Ring for 1. Add 2 colorless. Alright, we got a few shenanigan cards, and this one just didn't really fit in the other sections, but it's really great, really powerful, especially because we have the mana to get it out there fairly quickly, relatively speaking. It's a 7-drop, which normally would be not that conducive to play, but in this kind of a build, it's totally fine. Creatures you control have flying for strike, vigilance, trample, haste, protection for black, and protection from red. A great include for colorless mana ramping that we are doing. I just had to put Blightsteel Colossus. It's an alt-win condition. Trample, Infect, Indestructible. And then if for some reason you have haste because of the card we just talked about, that would swing for 11 Infect, which would wipe somebody out if it hits them in the face. 10 Infect means they lose the game. Lovely, lovely. And it's indestructible, so it's very sticky. Just a fabulous, lovely, one of my favorite cards of all time. Karn Liberated. I would be remiss if I didn't add Karn Liberated to an artifact heavy build. It's a 7-drop, 6 loyalty, Planeswalker, Karn. +4 gives you target player exiles a card from his or her hand. -3 exile target permanent. And its ultimate, which actually isn't that hard to get to if you start at 6 and you're +4ing each turn. -14, restart the game, leaving in exile all non-aura permanent cards exiled with Karn Liberated. Then put those cards onto the battlefield under your control. Whew, so to be able to restart the entire game, putting in everything you've exiled, that's non-aura related, man, that's bananas. What a great, insane card. Lithoform Engine out of Zendikar Rising. Zendikar Rising was very good to colorless cards, and this is one of them. Lithoform Engine for 4. You can 2-tap, copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new target for the copy. For 3-tap, copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. And the most insane of these is for 4-tap, copy target permanent spell you control. And notice it says spell, and the copy becomes a token. So you get, in essence, a copy of what you're playing. That's bananas, man. Very amazing card. And because you're most likely going to have a lot of mana to play with, this is going to be really levered heavily and great. Ugin the Ineffable for 6, 4 loyalty. And most importantly, colorless spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. And for +1, you can make a 2/2 colorless spirit creature token by exiling the top card of your library face down. Oh, lovely, lovely. And then for -3, destroy target permanent that's 1 or more colors. It's got it all. Man, that thing's got it all. Wormcoil Engine, because I love Wormcoil Engine. For 6, it's a 6/6 worm artifact. Death Touch, Lifelink, and then when it dies, you create a 3/3 colorless artifact creature and a 3/3 artifact creature with Lifelink. It's got some sticking power, folks. Sticking power. Alright, so we got draw now. And in draw, if we're in black, we're going to be dropping Demonic Tutor on the playfield, man. Oh, well, technically it wouldn't be playfield. On the stack. And for 2, search your library for a card and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library. In my opinion, one of the best tutors of all time because it puts it in your hand. Oh, love it, love it. Hull Breacher. Ooh, this one. Very bajanky jank. Janky jank jank. Commander Legends. It is a 3-drop with flash 3/2. If an opponent would draw a card except the first one, they draw in each of their draw steps. Instead, you create a treasure token. So not only do you stop your opponents from doing extra draw, you then also get a token that you can crack for mana. that's bananas. All right, Mystic Forge for 4, because we are so artifact heavy, this is great. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may cast the top card of your library if it's an artifact card or a colorless non-land card, which we got a lot of those, and then tap, pay 1 life, exile the top card of your library. Woo-wee, great utility. Great utility. All right, another tutor. The tutor is in blue, and this is to put at the top of your library sorcery or an instant. In this old school, it calls it an interrupt. That threw me for a second. All right, Noxious Revival for Phyrexian mana, which can be paid with 2 life. Put target card from a graveyard on top of its owner's library. That can help you, or it can get something that's nasty out of their graveyard as well. Prophet of Distortion for 1. It's got Devoid, which means it is colorless. And for 4, draw a card. I love that because you can just keep drawing cards for 4. And we should have lots of mana at our disposal. Rhystic Study. Everybody loves to hate Rhystic Study. And people love it to play it. And people hate to play against it. So run it. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, you may draw a card unless that player pays 1. Oh, it's a tedious card, I know, and it's obnoxious, but it is important for these kinds of builds to be able to draw. Sire of Stagnation, a 6-drop. This one might surprise you. Yes, it is an ELDRAZI, but it's more about draw than being an ELDRAZI. Devoid, a 5/7 6-drop. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player exiles the top 2 cards of his or her library, and you draw 2 cards. Chuckle, chuckle. Man. Sylvan Library. Yep, extra draw, lots of draw. Super broken green card. That's awesome. Another Tutor, of course. Vampiric Tutor. My second favorite. Next to Demonic. Pay 2 life, search your library for any 1 card, shuffle your library, then put that card on top of your library. So for 1 instead of 2, you put it on top of your library. So yeah, still a great card. And that brings us full circle back to Golos, folks. So our win conditions are just getting Golos out there as quickly as possible and then just start levering our mana base and start dropping ELDRAZI on top of people's heads and just smashing face with gigantic creatures and or levering things like Karn Liberated, etc., etc. All the time making sure that we really keep our opponents off kilter by controlling and countering and just keeping control of the board. Now, for those of you that made it this far that are sort of like, well, I don't know about counters, you can certainly swap out some of these countering and just keep putting in more removal. Absolutely. All right, well, thanks for tuning in. Make sure that you check out our other episodes. Check out the descriptions for the deck list of this one and the Super Friends version. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you put things in the comments and hit that like button. All right. See you in the next episodes.